Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to prep the hair. This is the hair already prepped, ready for install. So what you're gonna do is you're going to get a strand. This is how the strand comes. Okay, so when you have the strand, you're gonna separate the hair. You wanna separate the hair directly in the middle because you still want curls left. So you're separating directly in the middle, all the way down to the end. And do the other side. So when you're done separating the hair, you still have curls left. That's what you want. So that's why you want to separate directly down the middle, because it gives you the fullness, but you'll still have curls left within the hair. So I'm going to do another one. You take the hair. This is how the hair looks. To make it easier, you go pull it down, stretch it, and then it'll be like this, and you separate directly in the middle. That avoids any tangles when you stretch it, but you don't want to stretch it too much because you still want your curls in the hair. And there you go. So I'm going to do one more. Stretch it a little bit. Stretch it. And separate directly in the middle. And there you go. I'm going to do one more for video purposes. Stretch and separate directly in the middle. Now it should take you about 30 minutes to separate a whole kit, because you need about 8 packs for bob, and it should take you about 30 minutes to separate that. Sometimes I don't even stretch, because if you don't stretch, the more curls you'll have. So if you don't mind a little bit of tangling, I don't really stretch it because you'll get more curls. Let me show you what I mean. This is with me without stretching it, and I just start separating it directly down the middle. So by the time I separate directly down the middle, I'm left with more curls in my hair. So that's going to give the boho effect. It's going to make it more curly. So yeah, that's how you separate the hair to get prepared for boho locks. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you how to part the hair. The way I part is I do umbrella parts, U-parts, however you want to call it. Some people call it umbrella, some people call it half circle. But these are the parts I decide to do because you are able to do bigger parts and still have a full look with this type of parting. So since her hair is kind of short on the ends, I'm going to use some extensions to go ahead and plait that section. I normally don't use extensions because if you do use extensions, it makes the hair more stiff. I like to wrap with just the hair so it's more flexible, but since it's short here, I'm going to add extensions just so I can have some length to grip. It makes it easier to grip if you add the extensions. So continue watching, and then I'll go ahead and explain furthermore with how to part once I'm finished with this part. Okay, so here is the method of the parting. Once you have your first row done and you start on the second row, you want to make sure that your parts on the second row is directly in between the space that's on your first row. This stops your locks, braids, plaits. This goes for any type of protective style. It stops it from being spacey. So you see how that ends right in the middle? That's what you want. And the way you do that is when you do your part, you go ahead and make the line directly in the middle of your first braid. That way when it lays down, it's going to be right in the middle of that line, so therefore it won't be spacey. You'll go ahead and see me do that step furthermore, but just make sure when you part your second row, you make sure the part ends right in the middle of the first row braid, so that way when it lays down, it's directly in the middle. Okay, so now I'm showing you that my braids are directly in the middle of each other braid. It's not right on top of each other, so my locks won't be spacey once I begin. Now, to make your locks neat, I use Shine and Gem. I know some people like to do it as they're parting, but I like to do it after, so everything is neat on the specific lock I'm working on. So I put the Shine and Gem gel after I finish plaiting the entire head as I go. Okay, here's the fun part. I'm going to show you how to do these locks. So I start with 2 strands and I put those 2 strands together and I'm going to crochet it in. So once I get it together, I twist it so I could hook it to my latch needle. So we're going to enter the hair in now, go directly in the middle of the client's hair and pull it through. Now once you pull it through, you measure one end of how long you want the lock. And then you're going to begin wrapping. Now you're going to wrap about 2 to 3 times tightly at the root. So I do it about 2 to 3 times. Now once you have that tightly at the root, you're going to loosely start wrapping. When I say loosely, that what causes the lock to be messy. You don't want to do it tight like you did at the root. So I'm barely pulling it back over. I'm using my index and my thumb to lightly pull it over. And now you're going to see the curls are popping out of the lock because I'm loosely wrapping the hair, so it causes the curls to pop up more. And if you mess up, keep going. It doesn't matter, just keep going. That's what causes the messiness, when you just keep going and let the hair do its own thing. And you just do that all the way till you get to the end. And I'm going to grab another piece of hair. Now I cut the hair in half because it makes it easier for me instead of working with one long strand. So I cut one strand in half and then I continue to wrap. You're going to place that strand on top of the skinny portion where you just finished wrapping, and you just go ahead and continue to wrap very loosely. Now you want to overlap your wrapping a little bit so the hair will stay, since you're wrapping loosely. So you are overlapping the previous wrap that you made just slightly, but you still are wrapping very loosely. That's the technique that's going to give you the boho look. And you just grab the other half from the hair that you cut earlier, and you just keep on wrapping until you get the desired length you want. I'm doing bra strap length, so that's why I'm going to keep adding hair. If you're doing bob length, I would have been stopped. But for mid-back bra strap, you have to continue adding hair. Now once I have it at the length that I want, I wrap back up. I don't use a lighter. I do not use any glue for this look. I just wrap the hair back up in order to secure the hair. So you're wrapping back up. That's what I'm doing at this point. Now once I have the hair wrapped back up, I do cut off excess hair. So you're going to see me do that in just one moment. I'm going to divide the hair and cut off a piece of the loose end. This is where I'm cutting. And I leave a little end left so I can twirl that in my fingers so the bottom could be curly. I like my bottom to be curly. Some people will cut all of that out, but for my preference, I like to leave that curl. So I'm just going to clip it again so it's not that long. And then I twirl it again so it can have a nice defined curl. And that's how I leave that. Now, if you want more curls, I use this little tool. It's a nail file, and I use it to pull out more curls out of my lock. That's my preference. You don't have to do that, but I like it to be a little bit curlier, so I pull out some excess curls. You can use a toothpick, any type of sharp device. This just works for me, but any type of sharp tool you have, you can use to pull out the curls. And that's it. Okay, so I'm going to show you a different angle of how to do these locks. So once again, you can take 2 strands, and I'm going to crochet that in to the client's hair. So these are the 2 strands. I'm going to twist it, grab my crochet hook, and insert it. You insert the hook directly in the middle of the client's plait. Go ahead and pull it through. And once you have it in, you measure the length of the hair where you want the lock to actually stop. Now I'm going to begin wrapping. Remember to make it tight at the root. You wrap about 2 to 3 times. Once you have it wrapped 2 to 3 times, that's when I'm going to loosely begin to wrap the hair. I use my thumb and my index finger, so therefore I'm lightly pulling it. When you lightly pull the hair, that's what causes the curls to pop out. So do not pull the hair as like you would do a traditional faux lock. When you do traditional faux locks, the method is to be neat, but with boho, you want to be messy. So therefore, you lightly pull the hair. And you just twist that around so you can go ahead and add your next piece of hair. Put it right on top and begin to loosely wrap again. I'm going to have to add more hair because of the length that I desire. And remember, I wrap back up to finish the lock. This is me adding more hair. So I'm cutting it in half because it's easier for me to work with. Put it directly on top of where you stopped off and continue to wrap. Now this is what I mean by wrapping up. You wrap up to secure the lock. I'm going to cut off excess hair at the end, and I leave a little bit over. I don't cut the whole thing. I leave a little bit just so I can have that curl effect at the end. That's the section that I twirl in my fingers so I can leave it so it could give that curly effect once I'm done with the entire style. So this is where I mean you twirl it. This is where I take the tool to pull out excess curly hair. Once again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I like more curls, so I'm going to pull out curls out of the lock. And you just take a piece at a time. And you're done with that lock. Now I'm going to do another one for you. I'm not going to talk over it. You can just look and view the same steps I did before. Okay, here's another angle. We're doing the same thing once again, taking 2 strands and we're crocheting it inside of the client's hair. I do this pulling, tugging method to go ahead and measure how long I want the lock. And then I start wrapping. Remember, I wrap 2 to 3 times tightly at the root. And once that's done, I go ahead and loosely begin to tie. You see how the hair goes all over the place? That's fine. I'm not trying to correct it. I'm just going to continue wrapping. I use my thumb and my index finger of my right hand to pull it over to the other side. And here I'm running out of hair, so I'm going to grab another strand, cut it in half, and continue to wrap very loosely. Like the trick is the flick of the wrist. You're just loosely flicking it over. That's the trick. If you do traditional faux locks, you have to get out of the mindset of neat and tight. Because if you're so used to faux locks, this might be difficult for you at first. But you just have to remember, you want the messy look, so you have to loosely wrap it over. I'm just going to add more hair and continue adding hair until I have my desired length. You see how I'm barely even wrapping it? That's what you want. But you still have to overlap some of the hair on the previous wrap just so it could be secure and not start to unravel. That's the only reason you have to overlap it. But other than that, you're loosely wrapping. Now you're going to wrap back up to secure the lock at the end. You wrap one piece going back up. And here I separated to cut off excess hair. Here's another angle for you. I'm not going to talk over this. Just go ahead and look. It's the same steps as before. And the moment you've been waiting for, the final product. You see how it's still full even though my parts are big, because I did not allow my plaits to overlap each other. Every plait was in between the previous braid. So therefore, once it lays down, it looks nice and full, even though I did not have to do that many locks in order to get the full look. It's very lightweight because I used just the client's hair. I did not add any Marty hair, Cuban hair, etc. I just used the wrapping hair to wrap my client's hair. And this is the final product, you guys. Boho textured locks, lightweight, low tension. It takes about 3 hours to install. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help you achieve this look. I hope you like my tutorial.